don't need to restrict ourselves to dividing only by linear binomials. In fact, we don't need to restrict ourselves to dividing only by binomials at all. We might confront some organizational challenges when we're dividing by more complicated objects. We'll see that in a future video. For now, though, let's see how we would go about it if we wanted to divide this polynomial by the trinomial x squared plus 2x plus 1. We would begin our setup in the same way as we did when we were dividing by a linear binomial. We'll set up the kind of box we use for multiplication. We'll have x squared plus 2x plus 1 down the side. Notice we now have 3 rows rather than 2. We'll put our leading term in the upper left-hand box. Now, the degree of the variables we'll put across the top is going to be a little bit lower. Right, we're dividing by an x squared. We don't need an x to the 4th term up here. We just need an x cubed term. X cubed times x squared is x to the 5th. So we'll have an x cubed, an x squared, an x, a constant, and possibly a remainder. Now let's take a minute and look at our diagonals, because this is the big place where the complication increases. Here we see 2 boxes that will contain x to the 4th terms, 3 boxes that will contain x cubed, 3 boxes that will contain x squared. Then, in the remainder, we might have an x term, because that will be lower degree than x squared. And then a constant term in the remainder, 2 boxes that contain constants. So the fact that there are 3 boxes is going to present some challenge to us, but not as much as you might think, because we're only going to be looking to figure out what goes in the top row at each stage. Watch how this plays out. So my x squared times 1x to the 3rd already gives me my x to the 5th. X to the 3rd times 2x is 2x to the 4th. X to the 3rd times 1 is x to the 3rd. Now from these 2 boxes, we're looking to get 4x to the 4th. So we want 2 plus whatever this number is to give us 4. 2 plus what is 4? 2 plus 2 is 4. All right, we'll take 4 minus 2 and get 2. So we must have 2x to the 4th here. What do I need to multiply x squared by to get 2x to the 4th? Well, I need to multiply it by 2x squared. 2x squared times 2x is 4x cubed. 2x squared times 1 is 2x squared. Now, notice, for my x cubed term, I have 3 boxes along this diagonal, but 2 of them are already filled in. I have a 1 plus a 4 plus an unknown coefficient is going to give me 8, while 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus what gives me 8? What is 8 minus 5? Well, it's 3. So I must have a 3x cubed up here. What times x squared will give me 3x cubed? It must be 3x. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. And now again, looking at my x squared diagonal, I only have one empty box. I need to figure out what will give me 12x squared. 2 plus 6 plus some unknown coefficient will give me 12. 2 plus 6 is 8. So my unknown coefficient must be 12 minus 8, which is 4. We'll have 4x squared here. X squared times what will give me 4x squared? Well, it must be 4. 4 times 2x, that's 8x. 4 times 1, that's 4. And now I'm down to figuring out what my remainder is. Right? Well, I have one unknown coefficient in an x diagonal. 3 plus 8 plus what will give me 11? Oh, 3 plus 8 is already 11, isn't it? I'll have a 0x here. And I can easily see that 4 is already 4. So I'll have a 0 here. Hey, I didn't get a remainder. That's kind of cool. What will my answer be? It'll be just x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 4. And if I want to emphasize that I didn't forget about the remainder 0. Let me give you one of these to try. Again, this is not significantly harder, though it's a little bit more time-consuming than when we were dividing by a linear binomial. Work out this division problem. Pause the video and try this now. Alright, so how shall I set this up? I'll have my x squared minus 5x plus 6 down the side. In this first box, I'll have a 2x to the 4th. X squared, I need to multiply by another x squared to get an x to the 4th. So across the top, I'll need an x squared, an x, a constant, and possibly a remainder. And then down my diagonals, I'll have some x cubeds, some x squareds, some x's, and some constants. If you were stuck on how to get this set up, pause the video and try again. Alright, what do I need to multiply by x squared by to get 2x to the 4th? It's going to have to be 2x squared. 2x squared times negative 5x will be negative 10x to the 3rd. 2x squared times 6 will be positive 12x squared. Now, looking at my x cubed term, I need my total coefficient to be negative 15. Negative 10 plus what will give me negative 15? Well, what is negative 15 plus 10? Well, that's negative 5. So I'll need a negative 5x cubed here. What times x squared will give me negative 5x cubed? Negative 5x will give me negative 5x cubed. Negative 5x times negative 5x is positive 25x squared. Negative 5x times positive 6 is negative 30x. All right, so down my x squared diagonal, I want a total coefficient of positive 38x squared. So I'll have 12 plus 25 plus something gives me positive 38. Let's see, 12 plus 25, that's 37. 37 plus what gives me 38? 37 plus 1 gives me 38. So I must have just an x squared here. X squared times what will give me an x squared? It must be just a plus 1. So 1 times negative 5x is negative 5x. 1 times 6 is 6. Now I need to figure out what goes here. My total coefficient is going to be negative 20. Negative 30 minus 5 plus what will give me negative 20? Negative 35 plus what is negative 20? What must be negative 20 plus 35, which will be 15. I must have a positive 15x here in my remainder. And then in my constant, my total must be 25. 6 plus what is 25? What is 25 minus 6? Which I think works out to 19. I'll have a 19 here in my constant. So what's my answer? 2x squared minus 5x plus 1, remainder 15x plus 19.